anchor, James, and this is Elizabeth.
Today marks the 150th year in remembering President Abraham Lincoln's assassination. Here with us today with the full story is Thomas. Over to you, Thomas.
Testing. You guys can get this right? Yeah? Okay. Thank you, Elizabeth. As you can see behind me, this is Ford's Theater, where the fatal shot was fired at President Lincoln. The evening of April 14th, 1865, Lincoln, his wife Mary Todd, 28-year-old officer Major Henry Rathbone, and his fiancée were all enjoying the comic performance of Our American Child.
Well, I'd seen the man who had done this to our president. He had a pistol on fire before I could stop him. He had a dagger and was waving it at me. He slashed my arm, but I grabbed him and pushed him against the railing. He jumped over the railing, but it looked like he broke his leg or something, because when he landed, he shouted out in pain. Then he ran out the back door.
Well, there was a doctor in the audience and he ran to the balcony. He was trying to stop the bleeding with the tight rag, but this doctor said that the bullet went through his left ear and then was lodged behind his right eye. He wasn't moving or breathing very much.
9 hours later, our beloved President Abraham Lincoln died.
Witnesses say they saw the man who had done this. He burst out the back doors and rode off on a horse. They said he was a white man with a slim figure, a mustache, and curly short hair.
He was later identified as John Wilkes Booth. He had run through an alleyway where his horse was waiting for him. With more information, Charles was outside the boarding house where Lincoln had died. Charles?
Thank you, James. If you take a look here, this is Ford's Theater, and President Lincoln was carried across 10th Street to the boarding house in which he later passed away at 7:22 the next morning.
Dude, did you see this?
I know. It's so greasy.
Like, I don't even... Why does it do that?
Booth was shot and captured on April 26, 1865, while hiding in a barn near Bowling Green, Virginia. He died later that same day.
It was later released that Booth was planning on kidnapping President Abraham Lincoln, but his plan failed when Lincoln didn't make it to his scheduled trip to the Soldiers' Hospital.
President Lincoln's death had a tremendous effect on the rest of the country. His body traveled more than 1,654 miles, with millions of people mourning for the loss of their president. His final resting place is located at Oak Ridge Cemetery in Springfield, Illinois.
President Lincoln was in the process of reuniting the North and the South. The major question after the death of our president was, can Andrew Johnson, a Southerner and a former slave owner, live up to the expectations of the country?
Almost immediately following the Civil War, many laws were put in place restricting the blacks, called the Black Codes.
It was the Northern reaction to the Black Codes that helped produce racial reconstruction and the 14th and 15th Amendment. The Freedmen's Bureau was created in 1865 to help the former slaves. Reconstruction did away with the Black Codes, but after Reconstruction was over, many of their provisions were reenacted until the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964.
This concludes this edition of WTE Nightly News. The previous broadcast was made possible by Pearson's United States History book and socialstudieshelp.com.
Also, history.com and memory.gov.
This broadcast was made possible by viewers like you.
Thank you.